So we're out on a ride today, and it's been sort of drizzly wet off and on for a week now, so things are looking a lot better. But every spring is a little different. There's different plants that come up, and I just wanted to show you these mushrooms. If I see anything else interesting, I'll stop and film it. I just thought you guys might want to see some interesting looking spring. And here's what the foliage looks like compared to last time I showed you when it was all dried out. There is a creek running in the back of me. Uh-oh, camera doesn't want to do things I want it to do. This is a Kodak ZI-8. It's had every single video on this video series made on it. So it's probably getting a bit old. So, but we do have a backup. We have another one that hasn't been used that much. So we could switch over to that one if this one dies. And, but what I really wanted to talk to you was about the this craziness with the Ukraine, the fight between the West, and it looks like China's staying neutral, and Europe and the rest of the EU is going on the side of the US. And what's the fight about? I mean, what is this thing about Putin saying he doesn't mind saying the nuclear word? Are you serious? Does he really not know what a nuclear war would do to him and everyone else? Is his ego and Obama's ego so big that they're willing to kill the entire planet? You know, my prediction was that humans will die from a nuclear holocaust of some sort, probably a meltdown of one of these radioactive power plants that have all these stored nuclear rods in it, and the water will evaporate because we're all fighting with each other. Someone bombs a thing and blows them into the air, and suddenly we're nuked. We're as good as dead, and you can have the biggest chest or the biggest dick or whatever it is that you consider yourself manly about, and you're going to die just like everybody else. But I just World War I was exactly the same way. It just kept escalating and escalating. Anybody that knows their history, both wars, and knows how they started, and if you studied the history of the U.S. when they had their Civil War, that's a really good one to study. And you'll see that it's just escalating shit. It's just people pumping their chest harder and harder. Now, I admit the Civil War in the U.S. was, they say it was because of the slavery, but in reality it wasn't that. It was just a bunch of continuous chest pumping and manliness coming out and seeing who's tougher and stuff. And what I wish these leaders would do, instead of bringing all the U.S. and all the world into some crazy war, is just, why don't the three of, or four or five of them, just get out in the middle of a ball field and just have at each other and get it over with that way, you know, punch each other out and just all bloody in the whole thing, and get it all over with, and then we can get down to figuring out what we're going to do and how we're going to get to a one-type society. My arm gets tired, so I switch arms. So anyway, what is this whole conflict about? Of course, it's about natural gas, or what the corporate mainstream is calling oil. It isn't really oil. They've got what Chevron, a Western U.S. company, says is a large pocket of gas underneath the Ukraine, and the U.S. wants that in the dollar, and Russia wants it in the euro, or in the I forget the name of the Russian currency. But anyway, each country wants it in their own currency, and they're willing to go into nuclear war. I mean, you can really say nuclear? I mean, really? Is that... Man, that seems so stupid, doesn't it? I mean, they're going after a pocket of gas and they're willing to kill the entire planet for it? And to show how big their muscles are and their prowess and all this nonsense. It just, you know, it will very shortly start affecting the oil prices and the gasoline prices that you pay and the food that we pay for. If it does start rising, then the food prices will go out of reach for a lot of people here in the U.S. because the food prices are so high already. They say that we're in a good economic times, but we're really not. Just a small high-tech group is. And that group are making most of the money, while the rest of us are just fighting over the little bits and pieces left. I know somebody who gets food stamps who has a medical disability, and they said they just got their food stamp allotment. I thought you got a bunch every month, but apparently it's given out once a year. And for a family of two, it was $499 a year in food assistance. And that's because most of the help has been taken away and put into war and the military-industrial complex. We're looking after the military-industrial industry. Well, all this wind, hang on a minute. Okay, the wind seems to be blowing too hard, no matter where I go, so I'll finish this video when I get back. Seems to be a windstorm coming up from the east. When something comes from the east, you know you've got some fun coming up. Probably tonight, thunderstorms or something. Maybe. That'd be cool. Okay, I'm back. The windstorm came up very quickly, so I just rode as fast as I could to get across the bridge before the wind got too severe. But it actually just quit about after I got off the bridge, so oh well. Didn't have to rush so fast home. So let's go over some details of what's happening in the Ukraine as far as oil and gas exploration is going. So Chevron signed a 50-year agreement with the UK government for a fracking contract. See, that's what they're doing. For 50 years, they're going to frack the UK. There's a pocket in the UK that they think has a large amount of fracking ability, so they can frack it. So if you have that, there will be all these pads and pipes and trucks and more pads, and right next to buildings there'll be pads and pipes, and what they'll be doing is they'll be drilling into this thing like this and like that, trying to get all what's in there out, you know, and they'll just have pads and pads and pads, and this will go on for 50 years. Chevron, a U.S. company, U.S.-based oil company, got the contract, and that's fracking for mostly gas and some oil. The Ukraine wants to be independent, away from having to rely on getting their gas from Russia. So they came up with this scheme, and of course the U.S. is all for it, because that means that would all be traded in the dollar and not the currency of Russia or any other country. So now you know. Well, according to where I see, we have several comments on the video site, and I appreciate all of them. I wish I could see them, but they haven't appeared yet. Some of the comments from 2 or 3 videos back are now showing up, and I'm just starting to read them now. So don't get discouraged if I don't answer right away. It's just because I can't see that. It says we have some, but I don't know where. They're not in the comments section yet. Takes them a while to appear. So until next time, and thanks for all the comments and subscriptions.